Welcome, everybody. This is the Insider's Edge powered by Rocket Recruiting pubcast, and we are your hosts, Jeff Jacobson
and Eric Tippett.
And today we are thrilled to have on our pubcast the e-commerce guru and Sieg. And thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, a privilege to be here. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Love the work that you're doing, especially as you're serving people through your, I gotta say it right, pubcast.
There you go. Yes.
Got it. Pubcast.
Yeah, we need like an inspiration L and
yes.
Motivation logger. Like you're at the pubcast.
The pubcast.
Well, and we are thrilled to have you here. You've got an incredible reputation, getting your start in entrepreneurship with network marketing, with direct sales, and really making a pivot into e-commerce, where you pioneered a lot of great things. And really, one of the main reasons we wanted to have you on here is because of the impact that you're having on different demographics and the ability they have to create income, to create revenue, to create opportunity, not only for themselves, but for their families. And we think it's an incredible work, and we're thrilled to have you here today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, as we talked about a little bit at the start, we really like to kind of go back to the roots, and not start where somebody is right now, but find out a little bit about their background, and really helps our audience figure out kind of what shaped you, what impacts or what influences were important in your life. So on that note, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit where you grew up, what your family life was like, and some of the major influences you had as a youngster.
All right. Eagan, Minnesota. That's where I grew up. My dad built our house and 5 kids. I'm smack dab in the middle, whatever that means for that whole study of being in the middle. That's why I'm the middle child. And my dad, so it's interesting, my dad went to an all-male college, my mom to an all-female college. My dad is a scientist, he's a physicist, and my mother was a teacher. And so he met her at a science fair that was being hosted at the all-girl college. So they met, and so it's kind of this interesting mix of a scientist and a teacher. And so and they were both teachers. My dad was a professor at University of St. Thomas, only briefly, and then he ended up working for UNIVAC. And then my mom was a teacher. So by the time my youngest brother was in maybe kindergarten, my mom was off subbing then, and then went on to teach for many years until she retired with angst in that she loved it so much. It was a struggle to leave her career of teaching. Because growing up out on the porch, my mom did remedial teaching. And so we were always having kids dropped off at our house growing up during the summer months. And we have this big, long porch that my dad had built. And my mom was also always teaching math, reading, writing as remedial during the summer. So I grew up in that kind of context, and a home very, very rich with books and knowledge. And also another aspect of the way I was raised was very open to conversations and intellectual discourse, so that my dad always taught us that we need to be able to debate and be willing to defend our position. And that his thing was always never do anything by coercion, but by your ability to convey your ideas. And, just this kind of more egalitarian kind of teaching. And so that was very, very integral into my mindset and my ability, or how I view my working relationships with people, which then formulated into how I run my company. Is obviously there's an org chart, with roles and responsibilities and all that, but it's a more of an egalitarian kind of economy, for lack of a better word, within my own, how I structure business. And people, when they come in and they're like, this is nothing like corporate America. I'm like, yeah, right on. And I've never been in corporate America, and it sounds like I'm not missing out on anything.
That's right.
So anyways, that kind of enough onto that branch. But so I grew up in, at that time, it was a very rural area. So we had pasture land behind us. We had pasture land and a lake kind of out in front, so to speak. And so we played outside. Just, you got home from school, you were playing outside. And I just really feel for the kids that, they're on their tablets and their phones, and man, playing outside is where it's at, but that seems passe now.
Yeah.
But what really changed my life was the 1976 Olympics. And I get the two mixed up between, it was Olga first and then it was Nadia. Anyways, I think it was 72 with Olga Corbett and then Nadia. Okay. So anyways, a little girl, you know, and I was, so part of what really shaped my destiny, so to speak, I was teased considerably because I was really, really skinny. So while people talk about, you know, obese kids get teased, I got teased really bad as a, you know, skinny little scrawny thing. And then along came this sport where it was okay to be skinny and scrawny. I'll be not scrawny, you have to be really strong. So I'm like, wow, okay, maybe that's my direction. And so that was about 7th grade, which is very much late for getting into that sport. You know, they start them when they're so little.
Oh yeah.
And, but I think it's from my dad that I have this very logical thought by, you know, step-by-step processes of how I attack problems. And so that's what I do with that sport was, okay, there's that trick. That's a cool trick. I want to learn that trick. But I had to step back and evaluate the situation and say, well, I have no business doing that trick because one, I don't have anywhere near the amount of strength. And number two, I don't have anywhere near the amount of flexibility. So you can kind of see there's some parallels that can tie in with business and having a more reasonable mindset about things. So what I did is I got extremely disciplined in fitness. So I was working out 3 hours a day just to strengthen myself. And we lived in the rural area, so my mom didn't like driving us kids into the town. So I would ride my bike to school, which was 8 miles. It's one of those storylines, don't you know? I would ride my bike, get to the gym. I'd do my workout at the gym, and then the school day would start. And then I'd ride my bike to the actual gymnastics club. And then I'd ride my bike home, and it's 6 or 7 o'clock at night, you know? And so it was just, and then I'd do my homework. And then at 9 o'clock, I would do another set of push-ups and whatever, and this kind of thing. And so it was mostly, I call it source inspiration, which comes from, in part, Daniel Coyle's book. It's called The Talent Hotbed. And so it's when a flare goes up and people see, wow, look at that. And so that's what Nadia and Olga were for me. Wow, look at that. And in the business world, why we showcase success stories. Wow, look at that. That could be me, right? Yeah. So I do a lot of success interviews in my community and post those because the human spirit needs inspiration. Inspire, pneumas, it means to inspire. And so that was my source inspiration. And I never became a great gymnast, but I definitely got much stronger, and I was able to do, you know, a reasonable amount of the skills, but I became a coach for 12 years because of my love for the sport. So I share that whole story about, for me, and people require discipline in different ways. And in a sense, we go through life, and I hope and pray everyone seeks to be a disciple, and a disciple means in part discipline, right? And so I was discipled in the sport of athletes, so to speak, using kind of a crossover of terminology there, but I developed this insane mental discipline. Guess what? You need that for business. And so it served me so well, and I love the sport so very much. And it got to a point when I had my 3 sons by that time, and I would come home with my hands aching with tendonitis. I thought it was tunnel carpal syndrome, you know, yeah. And they looked at it and they said, no, you have tendonitis. And I mean, my hands would throb because I was lifting kids, you know. And then my husband said, you know, I don't think we need this anymore. And well, that'll get me choked up. But that's when I quit. And that was like taking a big part of my life. It was my passion. I loved it so much. I love teaching the girls. So I'll give another teaching metaphor in there. So the first gym I was at, that coach was like a German drill sergeant. And it was a very unhealthy training environment because she would use yelling, you know. And so when I learned over time is when people have deficiencies, they make it up with these shortcomings that I don't know how to really help this person, so I yell at them. And you see that in parenting. You see that in anything. It's simply there's a lack of a realm of skill sets to more adequately know how to deal with people. So they compensate with all they know what they can do is to scream and yell. Anyway, so there are many injuries in this gym, lots. And then a friend invited me, one of my co-gymnast students, that I was working out with, and she said, you should go to so-and-so's gym. Completely night and day difference. Night and day. And he said, if you're going to teach from me,
night and day as far as the training style.
The training style.
So kind of like the lead with the stick.
Yep.
And here you got all these injuries. Here's another training style, which is more empowering and supporting.
Oh, just like that. And then there was logic. How about that? A slice of logic over in this camp. So like over here, she had me, she's ready. Okay, time for handsprings on the beam. So she gets me on, it's the low beam. And I whacked her in the face. Well, excuse me, I couldn't even do one on the mat, let alone a trampoline. And you're having me do it on the balance beam. Well, there's something known as progressions. She didn't have that. And she was really ticked when I hit her in the face, and I didn't mean to. It's just like, you don't have any business putting a girl on the balance beam if she can't even demonstrate a good one on the floor with their hands together like this, And I thought, so this new coach was like, if you're going to coach for me, because I was rapidly moving into the whole teacher mode, which is my propensity. And she said, you're going to have to, or the new was a man, he said, I'm going to teach you. Oh, great. I love it. You're going to teach me? Sign me up. And so then it was all about logical progressions. So anything I do in the training world is all about step by step. Is there logic? And if there are gaps where the student has to jump from here to here, that's the responsibility of the teacher to fill in that gap and not, hey man, what's your problem? Hey, you stupid idiot, and like the yelling coach. It's like, no, the teacher, that's your responsibility. If the student isn't grasping it, then you need to break it down. And that's what my mom did with the remedial teaching. She became the head of Title I, it's called. It's a part of the school system. Title I is when you work with the kids who are, a little slower. She hated that terminology. She said they're all going to happen at the time that they're supposed to happen. You don't all necessarily, this idea of putting kids into milk buckets and at 5, they're supposed to be reading. Bam, how come you're not reading? And she said they're all wired differently. They all blossom at different times. And there's a storybook to that effect. Leo the Lion, it's called. Anyways, I'll just say, so that's kind of, that whole sports background from being the student, and I'm not one that was very likely to succeed, but through force and determination, I was able to succeed. And then I became a coach. And I think it's because I had that harder struggle made me a better coach. Because I wasn't one of those kids that, okay, run across the gym. Yep, she's going to be good. I wasn't the one who ran across the gym or across the balance beam. Anyways.
I think this is super important for our audience from a standpoint of, if you're not with the right coach, then you've got to look at who else is out there. Because I think that's the challenge in home business. I mean, in business, somebody comes and talks to you, and maybe they're a friend, and you're, reciprocity, you did this for me, so hey, sure, I'd like to join your business. And you take what they, here's the expert, here's the superstar, do what they do, not recognizing that everybody doesn't have that same skill set. And, Jeff and I were on a call with a mindset coach. And one of the questions was, how do I get my people to stop? And it was like, stop being lame and do Facebook Lives.
Yeah, to get online.
Yeah, just get them on. And the mindset coach goes, you will destroy somebody.
Yes.
Because all it takes is for them, this isn't about just raw, brute, guerrilla marketing. That just get on a Facebook Live and you got past that one. Now do it again tomorrow. You will ruin their mindset, their confidence, their ability to go and do something that they could have been amazing at, but you had the wrong coach. And I think that's important for people to understand. If you're in a community and I come from the school of being supportive, that everyone at different times is always succeeding. You're just going at your pace, and I'm trying to help support that.
Right.
And getting into an environment that's healthy for you. Yeah. So everybody watching, if they're in an environment and in a community that it is really shunning them because they're not stepping up and doing certain things that maybe somebody else thought was important, go find a community, go find a coach that really, fits your style and starts to help you. And that's why we talk a lot about what drives you as a young person, because we want our audience to understand that we all grew up with different windows being painted for us. And so to listen to how very methodical you are and systematic, and it's about, hey, this isn't about just go out there and hammer the market. Let's give you a system to go do it at your pace, or something that's comfortable and is a healthy relationship with whatever business you do.
Toxic relationships, healthy relationships, toxic communities. And so it's interesting. I was having a convo with my dad on Sunday. He's trying to bring an invention to market. And somehow I said, Dad, one of the most important principles I learned that guides a lot of my life is the law of entropy, it's one of the laws of physics. And the law of entropy is that most things will go to disorder. And to bring something into order is a feat of great worth. And I said, especially, Dad, when it comes to human ecosystems. And when you find a human ecosystem, a community where it is not toxic, it's healthy. And what I mean by not toxic, I think the most prominent word is where there is a mutual level of respect. And so that's like the whole bedrock. And I think people can feel intangibly disrespected when their fears are not acknowledged. So the Facebook Live one, because I taught attraction marketing for many years. And Facebook Lives, man, they're where it's at. And I had mostly baby boomers. And guess what? They didn't sign up to be, whoa, you mean for attraction marketing, I have to be figuring out I'm an expert at something, then they'll be attracted to me and I have to have my mug all over the web. That's not what a baby boomer is interested in, I can assure you. That's not these days. The youngsters, oh yeah, man, here I am, But these elderly, older people, they're like, they're more modest, they're more taught humility, maybe, instead of this
in front of it.
Not wanting to be all the lights are on me. No, oh my gosh, what are you doing? So anyways, a good coach will respect. It's that whole thing they say with your emotions. No one's emotions can be judged. Your emotions are your emotions. That's just a fact. And when someone is negating, well, you can't be scared. I'm sorry, but I am scared. No, but you can't be scared. And so it's, and people innately are looking for safe havens, especially nowadays, with how cattywampus everything is, and a lot of us versus them stuff being played out, to purposely divide people, is they're ultimately looking for a safe haven because our biology is such, we want to go into a homeostatic state of, finally, I can relax. And this is when I set up a learning environment, I don't want it stress and pressure filled, albeit I'm big about meeting deadlines and, moving the ball down the lane, and I'm a driver personality. But you want to feel like I can be here and it's going to be okay to be me. And I actually can maybe even ask a question without even feeling stupid, because I'm going to make an observation. Okay, so I've been online for 17 years. And when Facebook came out and then the whole group thing came out, groups can go toxic so incredibly fast.
Yep.
And it doesn't even, you can just browse through and you're like, yep, toxic. Not that I'm there to sit there and hyperanalyze, but I just don't have an interest. I don't want to swim in dirty water. It's hard enough to deal with life's challenges, but when you're in a place where you can't, there's not edification going on and mutual love and respect, I just don't want to be there because I don't want that toxicity in my life. And so, and I've been in some and they're big and it's a huge group and it's just like, man, more sparring, more sandbox fights. No, not interested.
I'm out.
I'm out. And so I just and I tell people, it means there's strong leadership in place. If you go into a group where, there's no like bashing, trashing, there's no big man on campus stuff going on around here, and which is annoying, and just like, looks like everyone's just trying to have, work through XYZ, whatever it is. That's high level leadership, oversight to bring about an orderly community where people can feel respected and get into a comfort level, because good learning doesn't happen in an environment of toxicity. It happens when you feel loved and respected and you can grow and flourish as a person.
And you made a great parallel earlier about coaches and teachers. Very similar roles. And I've found that the best coaches are also the best teachers. And what makes the best coaches and what makes the best teachers are what you said, their ability to recognize and understand each individual, and that there's not a one size fits all or a one system for everybody. And I look back and think of the coaches and teachers that I've had in my life, whether it's in school or in athletics. The best coaches, the best teachers were the ones that understood who you were as an individual, figured out what your strengths were, and tried to bring those strengths out of you. And there's a parallel, I think, an influence that your father had. He's very egalitarian in the fact that nowadays it's debate and discourse are almost words that have disappeared. And it's unfortunate, as you talk about how it gets toxic online. And I think it's because a lot of us now, a lot of people that are online didn't have parents that were so interested in saying, debate is great, back your point up, understand knowledge, come with an opinion backed by, facts and understanding, and then expect that same of the person that you're debating and that you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's almost gone away now. And I think that's what leads to what you talked about, the toxicity online. Like Facebook, for example, is a wonderful business tool, but it's really hard for everything outside of that. And it's such a contrast about what a powerful tool that it can be, but it's also very destructive in what it can do for people's emotions and for their feelings. And so I think it was a great parallel that you made between the importance of coaching and teaching and what makes a good coach and a good teacher.
Yeah.
Great point. And so kind of transitioning over, and, I think this was really important to identify for people because they're scared to get into a business. It's easy just to go to work and just be an employee, and it's the unknown. And then you start to go, it's unknown. And now I'm going into into a toxic community, that I don't feel comfortable and I don't feel empowered. Talk to us about, attraction marketing and moving into online business. I really want to empower our audience and empower people to understand there's good people out there. Don't go and find these communities and categorize everybody as bad or toxic. But second is for the person that maybe didn't grow up and have the skill and isn't systematic. Talk to new entrepreneurs, as you're out there training people that have never made money online, what would be some of the key bullets or key takeaways that you'd really show somebody that's, during these times of a pandemic and, everybody at home trying to figure out, how do I make some extra money? Where do I start? What do I do? Who do I go train with? What would you?
Well, I would say there's going to be needing to be aware there's going to be a mental makeup shift that's going to have to start within them. And they don't know what that is unless they're told in advance what is going to be that mental shift. Because I've seen people really struggle, a lot of people who, like you say, you're an employee, you just do what you're told. And I have a real adversity against people who say, yeah, and my boss, and they're all trash talking their boss, and I hate my job and this and that. And I say, yeah, well, you know who might be a worse CEO, boss? You. You might end up being the worst boss you've ever seen, because are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? You know, so I make it really clear, you're going to own this thing. I'm going to support you. Like in our community, we say, I'm down on the ball field. We have our entire suite of trainers mentoring you through this, but you're going to have to come down off the bleachers and get on the field with us and run to the end zone. We can get you down there, but you got to show up willing, able to run. So they had to be able to adapt into a new rhythm, because a business can only succeed when you get into consistency. And this is a big point of failure for so many people is, well, I'm going to give it a try. Oh, please don't, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Don't even say
it.
that. Yeah, just forget about it then.
Yeah, let's just not try.
How is it? Yoda says,
try or try not, do.
Yeah, do. Yes.
That's right.
So you have to make that determination. But this is what fundamentally really set the die, so to speak. And when I was doing gymnastics and doing those exercises, I tracked everything. Okay, I mean, how many push-ups, how many leg lifts, and I'm tracking, because to shift into new habits can be very hard, as everybody knows. So when you shift into entrepreneurialism, and most of our people, 70% of them are either working full or part-time, the rest, they're retired, this, that, whatever. But the rest, they're having to balance, do this whole juggle. That's right. You are going to have to go through the juggle of maintaining both, because you can't just quit your job. You've got to wait until this gets big enough that you can leave the job. And that's right. You're going to be grinding out through that chasm of time, whatever length of time it takes. And there's no one who escapes that if you're having to hold down the job. And you have to own that. And then you have to be willing to sacrifice. Because I tell my people, you're going to have to take your proverbial glass jar of rocks that comprises your life. I do a dream casting thing in our new member orientation, and we do this whole exercise. But there's your jar that you got, and bigger rocks, smaller rocks in between. But some of those rocks are going to have to go out, because you just declared to me what kind of goal you want and the reason you're doing it. But reality is, here's reality. We're going to have to change. You're going to have to take a good hard look at your life. And some stuff that's going to have to come out of that jar to accommodate, you're going to go through a learning curve. And the other thing that I tell them straight up is, just know this, just like life has hurdles and bumps along the way, be assured you will have bumps that come along in business. It's like, I say, write in your business plan. In fact, write in, things will change. And you have got to adapt to that. It was Robert Kiyosaki and both Paul Zane Pilzer said, the number one skill set you need to have in the 21st century is the ability to adapt. And I look at it this way: you adapt or you die. And I'm sorry, but that is it. And that's where, if people who are adverse to learning, oh, don't say the word learn, don't use that in your sales copy, and that they would have to learn. Yeah, you better. And so you have to embrace it.
That's what's so funny is so many trainers and so many people you hear today, this is going to be so easy. You can make this, you can make, and you look at this and just go, why are you doing that? You're setting somebody up for failure, because it isn't easy. There's times it's funny, people get into it like direct sales, you get all the different hopium that is spilled out. And then you go talk to them, you go, do you have all the freedom, all the money, all this? And they're like, I'm working now 18 hours a day. I'm 7 days a week. I'm this and that. And it's like, but you're building something.
Yes.
And so just that understanding of knowing that, get ready, like be ready for the fight, like get in there, because once it's almost like you find yourself knee deep in the muddy. It's like you're halfway there now,
right.
And you're looking there going, wow, but you're going, wow, I've come so far.
Yes.
And starting for people to recognize, just get started, find the right coach, find the right, one thing that stuck out to me about you is the systematic approach. I think that is so needed, because just throwing somebody with content and say, read this and go apply it is really tough. And for most people that have never been, self-employed and don't understand, motivation, nobody's sitting here on your back. You've got to get up and do the work. But one thing I was going to ask you, when you found, so all of your students that come to you, are you finding that so you've got a husband and a wife, are you finding that the both of them are coming to you, or is one of them coming to you? Because you always, like, men are like the dream stealers, like, oh, you're going to go start this business, like, how much is it going to cost, when are we going to make money, and when are we going to, and you start to look at dynamics. When we were talking about toxic relationships, some of them start right in your bed, right?
Exactly.
So I was really curious to find out, that can be your biggest motivator or your biggest derailer, obstacle.
Yes. Obstacle. Yeah.
Do you find that you have one or the other, and then does the other one come in, or what are you seeing today?
It varies. I had someone last night where it's his wife's a teacher. They both want it. But then we had our sales meeting this morning, and the sales reps were sharing. There's one where the husband wants it, the wife doesn't. Okay, so first of all, I have like these sacred things I won't violate, and that is I will never want to disrupt the marriage relationship. That to me is a sacred ground that, I never want to be that person who creates the division. Okay, so, and that makes it tough. So basically, I spoken in the situation. I said, okay, what we have here is a case where the woman, the female, the mom, the wife, she's rolling her eyes. Now here he goes again, because I did a ton of prospecting for network marketing, so I ran across it all the time. And I'm going to say, very kindly, so understandably, the spouse is rolling there. I'm sorry, but because they puddle jump. That's the industry is a lot of puddle jumping. They jump from gig to gig to gig. But anyways, I'll just say what this is. So I said, so I'm going to make clear to my sales reps, for one, I never want to disrupt, like I'm going to come in and I'm going to be the disruptor in their marriage. No, I don't think so. But I'll just say that I said, well, so the dynamics is she's not believing in him. There he goes, dreamer boy. Oh, brother, what's he gotten himself into now? No, I am not interested. And I said, well, what I would recommend is have her watch some of my videos, because I'm a woman, so she's going to be able to relate to me better just for that alone. And then I gave an example of a situation like that. So I said, you can send that case study. And I said, furthermore, I'd be happy to get on the call and speak with her. I'm totally comfortable. Any objection to this done, bring it on. I'm totally comfortable, because it's just, we're going to talk real life and maybe dig down a little bit deeper. And maybe there's just no hope at all. I don't know. But it's maybe there's a pattern of failure by that person that has caused the spouse to doubt, where it's like, oh boy, now is this the fifth one now already? And so it's maybe that individual is lacking some things that spouse is legitimately wanting to see. Well, yeah, but you always, and then, and so I have to recognize the legitimacy of what is going on in that dynamic. I'm willing to work with it, but if you have someone who's unwilling to work with you, then it's a no-go. And I'm not going to wreck any marriage or do some stupid thing. And, oh yeah, well, you could do it under Sly. No, that doesn't work in marriage.
Well, I think that's really important for people to understand, especially starting an online business. You know, the first person you're wanting to go sell is your partner. Like how excited you are about your online business, and when immediately they shoot you down, you're like, why do you always do that? Why do you always? And watching that dynamic and people watching, and maybe in that instance, I think it's important that you step away from what our relationship is and get to a trainer that has the system. You know, it's like me going out there and giving tax advice. It's my buddies would go, oh, well, you're like the tax guru now. And it's like, no, but she is.
Yeah,
She
come
is
and
the tax.
listen.
Come and
Yeah.
listen. So, you know, our audience is, you're looking at an online business. And again, I mean, I think we were so excited to have you on here today because so many people are looking at, how do I start an online business? What are the steps, and where do I start, and what do I do? And how do I join a community environment that is positive, but also that my partner will respect, in that they'll at least give me a chance, an opportunity to jump into something.
I kind of have the benefit, I'll just say, that I get to leverage a brand that you can't say, that sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
Which is Amazon. It's like, so you may have heard of Amazon.
Yeah, that little company.
Is anybody? Okay, so I already know 2/3 of you are Amazon Prime buyers, actually. Okay, you know, so I kind of, for me, I have that unique advantage of and no one can, so it's like that's off the table. Then it becomes, yeah, but who are you? And, you know, because they're wanting to hitch their wagon to somebody. That's human nature. Can I trust you? So I will just say the way, because I have parents and I did teach education-based marketing, is we're really big on education. So when someone is going through a consultation with us, I'll say, for example, I don't know if what we have is the right fit for you or not. Oh, wow, she's taking pressure off of me. And I'll say, but I can tell you, you will gain very valuable information, and you'll be able to have a better filter when you are in the marketplace looking at all these various opportunities. I'm going to set in place very important filters that are going to help you make a better educated decision. And that in itself is worthwhile, because it's kind of a wild west out there. You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So what I want to do is, and I say this in my promo webinars and such, I'll say, at the end of this call, I want you to walk away being more informed and more educated, more empowered, whether you end up working with us or not. So for me, no one likes pressure, like, man, you're pressuring me down. No pressure here. This has to be, in fact, we're going to be mentoring. So all the more, it's got to be a win-win. And if you're not coming in with an understanding of what you're getting involved with, that doesn't work for us, because we're going to pour our love into you, our support, our mentoring. And unless we've got a win-win relationship here, it's a no-go. And that's how I work in business. So I put that all out front, because I mean it, because it's no fun when you're stuck in something like, dang, they didn't give me enough information. So I tell them, so tonight we have a workshop. It's a workshop funnel presentation that we're working on. So we go into breakout rooms. We have Q&A. I'll stick around as long as it takes to answer questions, because it's not to ramrod someone through a sales decision. It's to get what buy-in. And most of that's trust-based, emotional and trust-based buy-in to, yeah, okay, so I got all my questions answered. Yeah, the list looks good. And yes, we are extremely about systems in our program. In fact, now we teach people, and I used to hear these names and I would go, what? They can't say that. Well, we teach people how to have an automated e-commerce business. That's our business value proposition. And the automated comes through because you're going to have software and systems, and you're going to have people to run them for you. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to do anything. You're going to be the CEO working on the business, and you're going to have a team. And so we have everything to teach them how to do so with their Amazon business. We have people who are doing it. Our trainers all have automated e-com businesses. Their VAs run their businesses from the Philippines, and they have all the time freedom in the world. So
This was the coolest thing, is Jeff and I were talking about, you really have given the template. You give somebody, because I read, we're going to have you up and running your business within 90 days.
yes, yep.
And
That's
for
right.
most people, it seems like a long time, but when you're in business, you're like, that is such a short time, like to be up and running. But what I
And
love,
selling and profitable too, by the way, if they follow our steps.
see, I love that you give them the playbook. It's like, hey, Amazon is a big name, and there's, to go tackle that as an affiliate and not know what you're doing and find the right products, like you're going to find a lot of wasted time and a lot of
Pain and suffering.
pain and suffering. That's
We'll call it that.
Yeah, that's
great.
that's
A
lightly.
destination for them
There's
to
a
go.
destination.
There's a point where you're taking them to, and I think that's what's severely lacking. Is Eric talked about it a lot. One of the biggest problems is duplication and replication. How do people do that? They don't know how to do it, especially if they've never been in a home-based business. They get all emotional, and then they sit in front of their computer and they're like, what do I do for 8 hours? And so the systemization of it, and then the end goal, and saying, listen, it's not perpetual training. We're not going to try to sell.
No. Learn and earn. Learn and earn.
That's it. I love that.
Learn and earn.
I think it's a lot easier for people to think in those time increments, and a lot easier, like Eric said, if you've never done it, you think 90 days, that's way far out there. But if you've ever done anything else, 90 days, you're like, I'm in, let's go.
Yeah.
That'll go so fast.
Yeah.
And it's the setting of their foundation. So I make it clear. It's just set your foundation. If you follow our steps, and then this is where the trust comes in. All right, it's time to hire a VA now. Yep, we're going to hold your hand. It's all good. We can do this. People have never hired someone, and now it's halfway across the world. You got to be kidding me. And so we hold their hand through that. But because I'll have people say, now you're telling me I do this for 90 days and then I start working my business and selling? No. You're going to be selling the first month, first 30 days.
Yeah.
You follow our steps, you're going to be learn and earn. But just to make it really clear with the e-commerce space, that is a really huge industry distinction that people have never really looked at e-com. There are many different sourcing methods, okay? And sourcing means ways to find products. Private label, source from China, print on demand, liquidation, arbitrage, wholesale, blah, 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 blah. All right, so when you're out in the online space, what most people do, they hang their, like, oh, I'm the Facebook guru expert, I'm this, I'm that. And so, oh, I'm the wholesale expert, I'm the this expert, we've taught all those methods. And what we realized the big gap in the industry is, who's teaching the systems? Who's teaching it to be systematized so that business can be run just like a McDonald's, any franchise. It's going to be run by a manager and the employees, but the CEO, they're working on the P&Ls, they're working on the reports and the stats and driving revenue to, making decisions, etc. And so we just step back. We've been 8 years, by the way, teaching e-commerce and arbitrage in particular, 8 years. But we thought, and it was also the mentorship and how key that was. And that's where we developed peak performance mentoring. But it was more about, we're going to put people in the shallow end of the pool, speaking of skill sets, with the easiest, most reliable method. And as they get that cash flow going, get their systems going, now they're ready to learn the more advanced methods where there's more risk. But get your foundation set first. And that's the key. And for a new person out in the industry, you're going to get hit on by every which ad and method, and you get lost. You're lost in the sauce, and you don't have the filter to make sense of how to differentiate, to make a smarter decision. So ours comes out of 8 years of teaching all these methods. We brought it back to square one. We see that what happens is they run aground when they have too many things they can't keep up with in their business, and they get frustrated and give up. The solution is offset.
See that if you were to ask somebody that's, number one, hasn't been in a home business, or even people that are in a home business, and you say you're working 18 hours a day, 8 days a week, you need to offset, offload. And for people that don't know what a VA, a virtual assistant, you know, this is the brilliance of what you are doing, is that you're saying it's not about working more and working harder. It's about, how do I leverage time? And I leverage people. So there's people that can just do these things. And I love that you teach them to say, hey, I want you to know this, but then let's get somebody to do that. And then this, and somebody to do that. So at the end of the day, you've got, I won't say employees, but you've got assistants. You've got a team. And so it isn't about leverage, like me working 20 hours a day now. It's about, how do I get my team to make it to where this is my goal? And it's funny when you talk to people about like, how much you'd like to make, and they're like, they just throw numbers out randomly. And you're like, what's the vehicle that gets you to that? But what I love is that somebody can say, I want to make this much. And you go, great, let's reverse engineer it.
Exactly.
And this is exactly the amount of products, the amount of sales. Here's VAs. Here's exactly what it means to make that. That is so rare in today's, because everybody just talks numbers like all over the place. But you know, that in network marketing, it's, hey, you gotta go just recruit 20 more people. Imagine this. And people, you know, then they burn out their friends and wonder, like, why did I do this? So everybody watching today, you know, this was really about giving another view on entrepreneurship and being able to be successful in your business, in a home business, but in a systematic way that starts to leverage your time and your experience, so you really can have the freedom and really go do the things that you want to do, and not have a business that is you know, nonstop recruit sort of thing. So, you know, as we're getting to the end of the hour here, I wanted to we have a couple of questions we want to ask, but before that, tell us what motivates you.
Okay, my motivation, one, I'll always be teaching, you know, whether I retire like my mom did, but I just know I'll be teaching forever and ever. With my business, it's to strengthen the family economy. That is it. And that is what I did through our own family, as I resourced from within. I taught my children to be entrepreneurs, and the one became my business partner for 10 years. The one came in and taught in our e-commerce business school. And then the youngest, he's our full-time videographer and content expansion manager. But all to say, you know, if you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it starts at the bottom, is you got to have your basic needs met until you can talk about self-actualization. And so when the family economy is strong, because I have people in their dream casting, it's always so other directed. Well, I'm trying to help this, and I want to help my mom and dad. You know, when I do this exercise in our new member orientation, they want to self-actualize, and they do want to give to charities. They do want to do this. They do want to give back to society, but they have to get their economic foundation set. We live in very interesting times. But that's the bedrock. And so they can self-actualize actually even through the process of becoming an entrepreneur, and then as they achieve their financial and time freedom, now they can fulfill their God-given destiny through their entrepreneurialism.
I love it. I love it. So Jeff, we've got some final questions. Fun
questions. We call it the 5 questions. Really very original title. But they're just 5 questions that we ask, and whatever comes to your mind, we'd love to have you share them with us, Ann.
Okay.
All right. So the first question is, my purpose is?
to help as many people as possible find their God-given calling on the earth. It's what I told my boys when I was raising them. That's why you're here. You're to find out your God-given calling.
I like that. I think there's still a lot of people searching for that.
Yeah, a lot.
Excellent. Okay, question number 2. My vision is.
Well, I kind of already stated it, but it's to strengthen the family economy so they can achieve their own dream lifestyle for the entire family, not just the dad or the mom, but the entire family.
I love that. And I don't want to take away from something, but you have another vision that we didn't even talk about today that I want to mention, and that's helping 1,000 people generate 10,000 a month in income, in revenue. And I think that is phenomenal. Like we talked about, it's a number. It's not like Eric talked about, numbers that are floating in space. It's 1,000 people generating $10,000 a month in revenue. It's a very concrete goal. And I think that vision is incredible. So I just wanted to add that on there for our viewers who might not have got a chance to hear. That's also part of what your vision is, and it's outstanding.
And we can reverse engineer that to the T.
To the T.
How to do it. I mean, it's all, we have all the projections, everything. We know how to do that.
10,000 a month for 100% of the economy is game changer. I mean, you ask most people, they can't even think of that number. I mean, because we've asked many, and it's way lower. So this is huge, and that's a
complete game changer. All right, and here we go with question number 3. I am
determined.
I like it.
All right. Okay, question number 4.
Determined.
It all comes down to
focus.
Oh, I like that. I actually don't think we've ever had anybody answer with focus in all the times we've asked these questions.
We've never had focus. I think consistency.
Consistency.
You know, we hear that over and over again, but consistent on what?
Yeah.
shiny toy. I'm consistently shiny toy syndrome.
All right. The 5th and final question. What I understand best is
building teams of people.
Ooh. And those were great answers. And just so you know, we end up at the end of these podcasts, publishing them and having show notes. And we're definitely going to include your answers in the show notes to give our listeners and our watchers a chance to really, I think these questions do a great job of letting people see a little bit, kind of a peek into your soul of who you are outside of this normal podcast conversation. So I appreciate you being honest and creative in those answers.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yes. And so we also wanted to just mention, as our audience knows, every podcast that we do, we donate to and nourish 1,000 children in honor of you for just taking the time. I mean, you're extremely busy, you're doing amazing things, but we want to make sure that we're all a part of a bigger mission and giving back. So we appreciate you just being honest, getting on and really helping give hope to many people right now to understand there is a path. There is a way that, somebody can start to take action and have somebody that's going to lead them and lead them in the right direction. What I love is whatever you teach somebody, they're not going to be any worse off than they are right now. And it's when I hear people starting to take people off to a path where you're like, you're going to lead them to destruction. And there's going to be wreckage over here. And now they need to rebuild to just get back to where they were.
Right.
And so it's fun to hear you kind of go through the systems and the knowledge that people are going to get by being a part of your organization and understanding what you do. So how would our audience get to know more about you, or get to learn more information, or where do you want them to go find you?
The best place would be our homepage, ecommercebusinessschool.com. If you were to do Sieg.com, it'll redirect right to ecommercebusinessschool.com. And we showcase case studies about our team. And also then there's some free training there. And there's a blog, lots and lots of blog posts. We do a Saturday morning live every Saturday. That's through Facebook, but the homepage is the best place, ecommercebusinessschool.com.
Is that live that you do every Saturday? Is that an open or is that a private
It's
group?
open and it's through our e-commerce business school Facebook page.
Okay.
Love
So
it.
we can give that link for that so they can attend that. It's free every Saturday. Many of our members are there that they can see the members with the comments and whatnot and connect. We have a lot of people who come in through that call actually, Saturday morning live on the e-commerce business school Facebook page. Yeah.
And we'll get that information and also include that in the show notes for our members. I think there'd be a lot of interest on the part of our audience to be in that.
Yeah,
Including
awesome.
us.
Yeah, yeah.
Woo! And thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure. We're excited for our audience to get to meet you. Many of them probably have already heard about you or know the name, but we're excited to shine a light for the members that haven't. So thank you.
Thank you so much,
Super,
Oh,
super
well, thank you.
appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. My pleasure. And yeah, it's while things are strange in the world right now, there still is amazing opportunities out there. That's for sure.
There
Love
are.
it.
There are.
All right. Well, have a great day. That's the end of this pubcast. And we look forward to connecting with you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're
All right.
welcome.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ann.